Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today we have entered day 181 of the ongoing Russia-Ukrainian war. And today I'm going to have a quick review of the military situation. Obviously, we have not seen a great deal of changing of territory or territorial gains by either side, obviously since yesterday, and this has become a common theme of the conflict over at least the past few weeks. Now, with that being said, we continue to see both Russian heavy artillery attacks and long-range cruise missile strikes on targets throughout Ukraine. Additionally, the United States has now encouraged, again, all U.S. citizens to depart Ukraine immediately out of fear of upcoming Russian artillery and long-range missile strikes between now and the 24th of this month, leading up to Ukrainian independence. And they're talking about the possibility of both civil targets being hit by Russian forces and obviously, quote-unquote, government targets being struck by Russian forces as well. And it would make sense, at least in terms of the high-intensity conflict that we are seeing, that we could see the prospects of Russian strikes take place inside of Kiev. There have been a lack of strikes against targets of opportunity taking place inside of the Ukrainian capital of Kiev, again, for reasons we really don't understand at this point. But could we be on the horizon of that possibly changing? Again, hard to say. It could simply be propaganda type rhetoric that does not come to fruition in terms of the prospect of these additional Russian strikes. Additionally, I wanted to talk about a media piece that I observed that I felt I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to show it because I don't know if the video would get us here at MFAN, quote unquote, canceled, but I'll describe kind of what I observed in this media piece. And what it shows is Russian forces, excuse me, Lord, conducting house-to-house clearing operations. Specifically, I believe this took place in Melitopol. And again, you could see Russian infantry units entering what appeared to be an apartment building. And as they entered the apartment building, they kicked down some doors and then entered some domiciles of Ukrainians who were living in that apartment building. And as this was being shown, it was security footage of the actual apartment building. The Western media commentator was talking about how this was reminiscent of Nazi Germany. And again, that was because Russian troops were occupying the residence of a Ukrainian apartment building in that city. Now, here's the problem with that. This is very, very common in the nature of warfare. There has been reported Ukrainian partisan activity in some of these areas. Whether that's we can verify that as truth or not, a little bit difficult to say. Obviously, we're not on the ground in these areas of Ukraine where Russian troops are present, so we just don't know. But what we do know is that these sort of operations are very much normal in the course of war. If we go back and we look at U.S. operations in, say, Iraq and Afghanistan, and I can say without a doubt, inside of Iraq, it was very, very common for U.S. teams of soldiers to occupy an Iraqi home and use it as a observation post for U.S. forces. And they would confine the Iraqi family to the home, or they would move the family elsewhere while that home was used as a observation post. Or it was very, very common for U.S. forces to conduct counterinsurgency or coin operations against Iraqi quote-unquote partisans inside of Iraq. So again, it's what we're seeing on the ground taking place inside of the areas of Ukraine that Russia is currently occupying. Again, very similar to what the United States did in Iraq, and it was just part of the military mission that was taking place. Unfortunately, in wars, this is the kind of stuff that happens. And I'm sure if the shoe was on the other foot and the Ukrainians were taking over an area which we know has happened in, say, eastern Ukraine, where there has been more or less more support for Russia as opposed to the Ukrainian government that now controls Ukraine, we would probably be saying the same thing, because the same thing has occurred. But the media, again, in this case, portrays the Russians as quote-unquote this Nazi occupation force, when both the United States is doing it, the Ukrainian forces are doing it, the Canadians are doing it. Everyone who conducts war in an area where there may be some sort of insurgency or partisan activity, this is what you see. It is how you fight a counterinsurgency conflict. And at the same time, the Russians are probably also concerned if there are Ukrainian special forces that may be operating in cells in some of these areas that they have taken over in terms of territory by the Ukraine. So look, I'm not trying to be a quote-unquote Russian supporter. I'm just trying to clear up some certain things that are being shown in the media that may be misrepresented. So you did not hear this media outlet right now that are calling these Russian forces who are conducting these search and clear operations in this apartment building. You did not hear them calling U.S. forces Nazi-like in their operations against the Islamic State in Iraq. You just did not hear about it. You won't hear about Ukrainian forces doing the same thing in eastern Ukraine against Russian separatists being called Nazi-like. And I would have to say that even some of these Ukrainian units, some of their symbology that they use, such as Azov and some of these other quote-unquote nationalist units that have been absorbed into the Ukrainian National Guard, do use symbology, symbols, that would lead an outside observer to hearken back to the days of the Third Reich. But again, it's the nature of warfare. It's going to happen. You're going to see it on both sides of the equation. And again, it's just the kind of reporting that we're seeing now, this black and white, and not delving into the gray area. And this is what this channel is trying to do, is trying to look into the gray area of war and cover it in a reasonable and rational method, where you, the viewer, can be more or less better educated in terms of what we are seeing. So we're going to wait and see what happens between now and the 24th, or after the 24th, to see if the Russians do launch some sort of large-scale cruise missile campaign or ballistic missile campaign against targets inside of Ukraine, but difficult to say what will happen at this point. But we'll continue to monitor, report, and bring you more content for your consumption. Thanks for joining us. More to come. Have a good day.